The 2024 White Sox were one of the worst teams in MLB history, having lost 121 games across the entire season. But everyone knows this, right? So why bring it up? Haven't these poor fans suffered enough? Well, on August 5th, they walked into Oakland and lost 5-1, dropping their 21st game in a row. That's tied for the second longest losing streak in MLB history, only beaten by the 1961 Phillies, who lost 23 from July 29th to August 20th. Losing that many games in a row has to be crushing for a team, especially in a season as long as baseball's, where even after you fall to 27-88, you still have 47 more games left to play. It's not a fun feeling, as manager Pedro Grifol put it eloquently. We're talking about it every day. Everybody knows what it is. It sucks. It's not fun. It's painful. It hurts. You name it. However you want to describe it. Losing 21 games in a row hurts for any team. But what would it feel like to lose 100 in a row? Yeshiva University is a school that has a baseball team, if anything else. A private Jewish school nestled right by the Harlem River, known for a lot of things, but definitely not their sports. For these students, playing is probably just an extracurricular activity to pass some time, not something worth stressing over. Perhaps it's because of this that yeshiva baseball is, pretty bad. As a Division III team, they're among the hundreds of other colleges just playing ball to play ball. They play in the Skyline Conference with 10 other teams. There's about 30 games a year, give or take a few, and since 2008, the most games that they've won in a season is 4. In 2009, they went 4-19, breaking the school's record for most wins in a season, including an incredible 2 wins in a row. They followed that up by winning 21 games across the entirety of the 2010s, which is something. Not that it matters that much to them anyways, as Yeshiva has never been a baseball school. The most they've ever had was 2 players being drafted into the Israeli Baseball League. These guys are just going out there probably in between study sessions. Did they care as the losses began to pile up? I would hope they did, as anyone who plays wants to win, right? On February 27th, 2022, Yeshiva defeated John Jay University in a doubleheader to reach an unprecedented mark. 2-1, a winning record! They came out huge late by coming back from a 4-0 deficit to win Game 1. And in Game 2, they jumped out early and never looked back. Hopes were high among the club. We really played like a family today, and even though we were down early, we never gave up. And we're supporting each other every single at-bat, said senior Judah Blonder. It was a nice way to get this season going in the right direction. We just want to build off this going forward, said graduate student Dovey Solomon. We will use this momentum to continue improving on both sides of the ball. If only they knew what fate awaited them. How does it feel to lose 100 games in a row? Yeshiva University was about to find out. The remainder of the 2022 campaign was just another typical season, as they went 0-26. And these were not close games. 17-1 against Utica, 25-1 against Old Westbury, 29-3 against St. Joseph. These guys are getting clobbered day after day. Throughout the rest of the season, Yeshiva would score 55 runs across 26 games, an average of 2.12 runs per game. Last year, the White Sox, who lost 121 games, averaged 3.13 runs per game. Yeshiva was also shut out 8 times as well. Now, guess how many runs they gave up? 417, an average of 16.04 runs per game. This is how bad we're talking here. Their offense was about what you would expect, with the team batting average being .230, and not a single person hitting a homer across the entire season. Nothing crazy, but it's the pitching that did them in, as they had 12 guys on their team with an ERA over 10. 6 of them were over 20. All in all, it made for a combined ERA of 16.46, a whip of 3.11, and an opposing batting average of .407. Dovey Solomon, the man who got the win that day against John Jay, would finish with a 12.97 ERA, including giving up 12 runs against Manhattanville and 14 against St. Joseph's in just 4 innings. I could go on and on and on about how badly they played, but you get the point. Just another year at Yeshiva. But the pain did not end in 2022, or 2023, or 2024. Their losing streak was far from over. It didn't get any better. John Jay, the team they managed to beat twice, would respond by obliterating Yeshiva 34-0 in March 2023. 4 days later, they would go out and get crushed again, 31-2 against St. Joseph. Then they went through a truly unholy stretch. 5 straight shutouts where they surrendered 104 runs. The one time they had any sort of pulse was on May 1st, where they dropped 6 runs in the 7th, the most by far all year. It would have been nice if they weren't already losing 13-1. Not that it really mattered, it was senior night after all, as they honored those who would go on to graduate in front of a whopping 25 people. They would conclude the 2023 season by scoring 32 runs and giving up 515 over 29 games, aka 1.1 runs scored per game and 17.76 runs given up per game. If that ain't the most lopsided thing I've ever seen, then I don't know what is. Unsurprisingly, they finished at the bottom of the conference in practically every category. But hey, Benjamin Brenner would hit the one and only home run of the year, so that's an improvement, right? Well, I say that, but the team batted .173 and threw with a 18.99 ERA, so does it even matter? 2024 was more of the same. 26 more clobberings on the docket to stretch the streak to 81 games. In the first game of the year, they actually had the lead for a little bit, but naturally, of course, they would go on to lose that day, and spend the rest of the year being a punching bag for the conference. The worst came on April 14th, where a doubleheader against Farmingdale resulted in 75 runs scored in 2 games. In Game 1, Joshua Mintz recorded the team's only hit, as they surrendered 11 runs in the 6th to finish 32-0. Immediately to start Game 2, they gave up 15 runs in 1 inning en route to a 43-1 demolition. Giving up 75 runs in one day is an unthinkable amount, but it's just another day at Yeshiva. They just somehow keep finding ways to dig deeper. 40 runs scored versus 546 given up. A team average of 157 and a team ERA of 21.54. 21.54. Everyone except one guy had an ERA over 10. And even then, that guy only pitched one game, so does it really even count? When a team plays Yeshiva, it's basically batting practice. Day after day after day of the same old shit. 24-1, 22-7, 30-1. It just never ends. And it's not like these are all different guys every year. These are players that have been here for all of it. Mintz started in 2022 and played 3 seasons. Pitcher Jacob Shakin did 3 years. Countless other examples of the same guys going out there and being crushed, only to come right back again and again. Maybe it was for the love of the game. Maybe it was for a determination to break the streak. Or maybe it was just to have some fun playing ball for a couple hours, no matter what the scoreboard says. There's only a few games here that were actually competitive, but the best chance Yeshiva had to break the streak came at the end of the 2022 season, where it's time we get introduced to the second protagonist of this video. Lehman College. In 2022, they went 8-17, which would be an underwhelming season if not for the standards already set by their opponent. But on May 13th, Yeshiva would come out with their fiercest effort yet, taking both games to extra innings to desperately try to win. In Game 1, the teams went back and forth, with Yeshiva holding on to a 5-0 lead after the top of the 4th, and Lehman storming right back to tie it. In the top of the 8th, with 2 men on, Jacob Schwartzman would lace a ground rule double to take the lead. But in the bottom half, a towering 3-run shot would give Lehman the win. In Game 2, Yeshiva would score 6 in the first 2 innings, but once again, Lehman would come right back, eventually taking a 7-6 lead in the 6th. 3 runs from Yeshiva would be responded by 4 from Lehman, and now they sat down by 2 with 3 outs left. But they managed to load the bases with only 1 out, and Rosenberg would shoot 1 to left to tie it up and send it to extras. But, of course, Lehman would come away with it once again, as in the bottom of the 8th, a base hit would seal a 12-11 loss to end the season. Still though, 17 runs in 2 games is an incredible feat for this team. 24% of their total runs and 16.4% of their total hits in the season came from just these 2 games alone, the only time throughout this stretch that Yeshiva came out swinging with a chance to win. Perhaps the curse had been passed on to Lehman, as they would lose their first 11 games in 2023. But they would eventually settle to a 7-23 finish. But on May 12th, they dropped a doubleheader and began their own losing streak, as they too would go winless in 2024. They were posting scores just like Yeshiva, 22-5, 26-7, 38-0. Though they weren't as bad, as there were also a large number of close games. But they were unable to earn themselves a win, and heading into 2025, they had lost 29 games in a row. Their streak would continue, as even though they scored 10 runs in 1 inning against St. Joseph, they would still lose, kicking off 13 straight losses to open the season. There were some tight affairs, a 16-14 wild game against the University of Maine, and once again losing despite scoring 10 in one inning against Western Connecticut. Seriously, how does that happen twice in 1 year? As for Yeshiva, they were the same as ever. It took until their third game to finally score a run after giving up 65. And yeah, 24 to 3, 29 to 1, 30 to 3, same old Yeshiva. Against John Jay, they showed some life as they would hold their own, sending both games to extras. But that only resulted in them getting walked off twice in one day. None of these players had any comments to add, though what could you even say after losing so much? Reading these recaps was like a hypnotic exercise. Baseball drops heartbreaker at John Jay. Baseball falls at Purchase. Stellar pitching not enough to lead baseball over Manhattanville. Whoever writes these articles must have the easiest job ever, just copy-pasting the same thing over and over. Who cares? Does anyone care? There were probably like 20 people at this game. On April 4th, Yeshiva would go out and lose again. But did anybody in that school even care? On April 8th, 2025, the sun rose on a frigid day in New York City. Yeshiva would take the field once again in 36-degree weather for a doubleheader against Lehman. On this day, Yeshiva had lost 99 games in a row, and Lehman had lost 42 in a row. The endless losing has somehow brought these teams together on this day. Both their streaks could end, and the people knew it, as around 250 people showed up for these games. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but these guys usually don't draw more than double digits. But that wasn't all. This game was getting national attention. The press was bearing down on two random schools from New York City playing two meaningless games on a bitter Tuesday afternoon. Who cares? We all care. Yeshiva would strike first in Game 1 with a huge triple. Then the ball would drop, allowing them to take the lead in the bottom of the first. They would get another off a bad throw to first, but Lehman would answer right back with one in the second off a dropped fly ball, with wind proving to be a force in this game. Yeshiva would push back with another triple in the second to make it 3-1. Then a double over the first baseman's head made it 4-1. And another single made it 5-1 after 2 innings. The dugout was hyped, the crowd was excited, Yeshiva could taste victory. But the game was far from over, as Lehman would chip away with an error making it 5-2, and a ball over the glove of the third baseman would make it a 1-run game. Yeshiva would get one back on a wild pitch to make it 6-4, and would hold their own as the game headed into the 7th. Including surviving a threat where Lehman had the tying run heading to the plate, only to get thrown out by the center fielder to preserve the thin lead. Just 3 outs to get, but Lehman would draw 2 walks and a hit by pitch to load the bases with the no outs, and a blooper in the corner tied the game once again. Poor Yeshiva can never catch a break. But the defense would stay strong, escaping the jam and keeping the tie. A single got the winning run on base, and then he advanced to second on another hit. But 2 strikeouts ended their chance. And predictably, Lehman would load the bases again, and a hit by pitch would draw in the go-ahead run. Yeshiva would strike out, ground out, and strike out again to seal the game. For Lehman College, their 42-game losing streak came to an end on this day, notching their first win since May 2023. A sense of relief, a sense of joy, said Justin Chamorro, the winning pitcher. For Yeshiva, their streak had crossed into triple digits, 100 straight losses. And for these players, who had their fans cheering them on despite everything, coming up short was all the more bitter. But they had another chance, as the second game was soon underway. One more opportunity to break their curse. Right away, they pounced, like the hunger from losing 100 games in a row had finally caught up to them. 2 doubles scored a run each, then a sac groundout made it 3-0 in the first, but Lehman would respond with a 2-run single to make it 3-2. But Yeshiva would not back down. They would not let these fans go home empty-handed, as they would load the bases in the third, and a walk would bring in a run. An error would score another, and a huge single down the right field line would drive in 2 more. All of a sudden, Yeshiva sat up 7-2 with only 4 innings left. In the 5th, Lehman would get one back, but Yeshiva would answer with one of their own, and another clutch hit would make it 9-3. With each out, the excitement only continued to grow, as even despite Lehman scoring another in the 6th, Yeshiva still held a 5-run lead heading into the 7th. A pop-out to right made it out number 1, but a walk would get a man on. Noah Steinmetz would come on for the save, as he would look to do what no other Yeshiva pitcher could do in literal years. He would get a groundout right back to him for out number 2, bringing them just 1 out away. Baseball can be a cruel sport sometimes, casting down their wrath upon unlucky teams and leaving them to suffer day after day, year after year. In the end, some random D3 baseball match on a freezing cold afternoon in New Jersey with only about 300 people watching is merely a footnote in the history of the sport. Teams aspire to win championships, to get over the hump, to win it all. Different folks in sports, cresting a mountain can be winning a championship, said Jeremy Renna, the Yeshiva coach.
For us, winning a game was that for us.
Sometimes baseball rewards the patient and gives a well-earned reprieve at the end of a long, cold road.
Every day you get a new opportunity to show up. Success doesn't last forever, neither does failure.